All right, so this is actually going to be a fun, heavy, interesting conversation. Today's panel is really talking about some of the toughest challenges in construction. How do we prevent utility conflicts while keeping projects on track through better coordination? To guide today's discussion, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Leslie Dubberly from GDOT.
Thank you, Justin. It's my pleasure being here with you today. Good morning, everyone. And I want to give a special thanks to Nick for giving me this opportunity, I guess you could say, to be with you today. I am the District Utilities Manager in District 5, so some of you look very familiar to me. So as Justin was saying, he did kind of give a brief overview of our topic, but I'd like to start with the why behind today's discussion. So utility conflicts and strikes are the #1 cause of project delays and safety incidents. Coordination between GDOT, local governments, and private utilities is often the weakest link. This panel discussion will engage stakeholder groups on this important topic. So today, our panel members, I'd like to give a brief introduction to our panel members. I'll start with Dallory Rozier. So Dallory is with Jacobs Engineering. Dallory serves as the Utility Coordination Department Manager for Jacobs Engineering, where he manages the utilities program, leading teams in GDOT's District 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7. Dallory possesses over 3 decades of experience and transportation knowledge, working in and leading Jacobs 3.10 Utilities Coordination Division. Formerly leading GDOT's District 5 District Utilities Office, providing utility coordination and management, as well as construction, contract, consultant, and UCI management. He provides an innovative approach to helping each district manage and mitigate utility issues in coordination, permit inspection, and construction oversight. It's a pleasure having you on this panel with us today, Dallory. Next, we have Donovin Brown. Donovin Brown is with Comcast. He is the Regional Vice President of Construction and Engineering at Comcast, with over 20 years of leadership experience in designing, building, and modernizing large-scale telecommunication networks. He leads network expansion across 8 southern states in the company's Big South region, driving broadband growth, digital access, and high-performing teams. Donovin holds an MBA from Keller Graduate School of Management and is committed to mentoring the next generation of engineering and technology professionals. Thank you for being with us today, Donovin. Okay, next we have Tim Ashton with Georgia Transmission Company. Tim has been part of the power industry since 1995, where he started out as a drafter. Over the years, he worked as a substation designer and transmission line designer. Since 2013, he's been serving as the utility transportation coordinator and has also had the privilege of serving as the chairman of the GUCC Overhead Safety Committee. Thank you for being with us today and being a part of this panel. Next, we have Ms. Holly Files with Georgia 811. Holly serves as the liaison director for Georgia 811, where she has been with the organization since 2001. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Education and Sports Medicine from Valdosta State University and has extensive experience in the locate contracting industry. Earlier in her career, she helped develop a Metro Atlanta damage prevention and claims recovery pilot program that was later implemented nationwide. Holly remains actively involved in damage prevention, education, and legislative advisory efforts across Georgia. thank you for being part with us today in this conversation. Okay, so we will start, since we are on a 45-minute time frame, we will start with our panel questions. The first question, and this question is open to all panel members. The first question is, in your experience, what is the true hidden cost of a utility strike beyond the immediate repair? For example, insurance premiums, community distrust, and traffic congestion. And this may go more towards our utility industry, but Holly and Dallory, you are welcome to give your input.
Well, I can jump in first. So good morning. First of all, thank you, Leslie, for moderating, and Mr. Fields for allowing us to be here today to share our knowledge and what we do to partner with GDOT, so appreciate it. For our perspective, it's about customer experience. Our customers depend on us to have services up 24/7. So when we do take a damage, we have to drive out there, get our facilities repaired to get it. So it's about reliability and it's about customer experience. Our customers are experiencing an outage. They expect us to get it up, and if that damage goes prolonged over a certain period of time, those customers have options. I see a lot of other utilities out here that are here in the room with us. They could switch to those utilities and state that I'm going to go with somebody that I believe is going to stay up for a longer period of time. So for us, it really is about customer experience.
Great, thank you for that. What about you, Tim?
I think it's more of hello? There we
Yep.
go. I think it's more of a safety issue for us because we're transmission and we're high voltage. Whereas, people can die whereas opposed to hit a communication. But another thing that years ago when I remember Alan Scott for CW Matthews was like taking pictures and setting, well, here's your communication line. Who claims it? Nobody would claim it. And I kind of leaned over and said, why don't I just cut it and find out? And it's like, no, you don't want that. You don't want that liability. And I thought, well, that doesn't, you'd know right away. But then it's like, yeah, but what if, Jane Doe's trying to call a hospital to try to get something to help her mom out, and then you've cut that line, and now that's, she doesn't have the support she needs. And again, it's just safety, biggest thing.
Yep.
So I agree with Tim and Donovan. It is customer experience, and I feel like it is customer safety. But, one of the things was it's the frustration in itself. I had a similar project up in Forsyth County. Of course, we're doing the road move on the utilities, right? So we did all of the make-ready work. We relocated it, but we left the temp line laying on top of the ground. So as the contractor was running through grading the ditches and getting everything ready to be dressed out, they just basically pick up the slack, push the cable a little closer to the back of the right-of-way, and all of a sudden service goes out, right? So immediately the phone starts ringing. So our boots on the ground, they're calling me, can you call the utility owner and see if we can't get customer restored? We do, through partnerships. I'm very big on utility partnerships and teamwork, right? So I build that with the partner, and I said, look, I need your help. We got this group of customers sitting out here on the peninsula, and they have no internet access, and they're raising Cain. What can we do? So through the commitment, they send a service tech out, take a look at it, make the repairs if possible, whatever we had to do, right? So I communicated that back to the boots on the ground, and they communicated it to the customer. But not only that, the other aspect is if it's a strike in the roadway, now you got traffic congestion. The last thing you want to do is detour traffic onto secondary routes to avoid where the strike hit so the repair can be made. And you guys travel the routes. It's not only pedestrian vehicles, but it's 18-wheelers. I mean, that drives our economy here in Georgia, from the ports in Savannah to all the warehouses you see built along the interstate corridor, right? Last thing you want is a 18-wheeler or a semi-tractor trying to make a turn on a 2-lane road, and you have a crosswalk in town and a pedestrian gets hit. So I think all in all, it's kind of, in a nutshell, it is basically can be eliminated through a lot of communication and coordination. Leslie?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Holly, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
I do. Is that working? I don't know, I don't experience it and have the knowledge that these, my esteemed panelists have on this, but I do think that at Georgia 811, and those of you familiar with the Common Ground Alliance, we focus on the number of damages or the number of customers affected, but we don't go to what's the impact from the excavator perspective, because they're right there in it, the transportation facilities. I mean, it can snowball easily. And I also think the amount of time that excavators wait for utilities to locate, which you can call downtime, there's a cost to that, a real cost. And I think if we added those to our metrics, maybe we can make better decisions on the path forward.
Right. Yeah. Good answers. Thank you all for that. Good. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Why do you see a road paved on Monday and cut open for a utility installation on Friday? Okay. Yeah. Okay. What policy, this is going to be a good one. Okay. What policy or communication shifts are needed to stop this cycle? Okay, Dallory, I see you. Your lips are moving.
So I'm chomping at the bits, right? So as a retired GDOT employee out of the utilities office, we have a resurfacing project, and of course, we have our widening for additional lanes type projects, but my mind takes me to resurfacing. We do a 7A letter, and we ask the utility to go out and inventory where their facilities are, right? So we can either work with them, try to incorporate them into the project, or let them know, hey, look, paving's coming in, you may want to go mark where your facilities are because we're going to cover them up, and then you're going to have to come back and raise them to grade, right? So we have that 7A letter for coordination. But what's the key? It's communication, coordination, cooperation, and commitment. Speaking from example, this just happened. So we're working on a project that's off system from GDOT. And so we see a new house construction on one side of the road, and we just finished topping it. So the utility owner, the whole time, we told him, says, look, if you got to run service to that house, now's the time before we pave this thing. Then, went one ear out the other, right? So we started communication, but it was one-sided. So we told the permittee to say, hey, look, such and such is going to need service, so you might want to encourage them to go ahead and get their permit so they can go ahead and do the work before we top it out. Didn't listen to us. No more than we put the blacktop on it. 3 days later, they cut the asphalt, open cut. Now, what could we have done different? Well, when the permit come in, we could have told the utility owner, we're not going to let you do the open cut, but you can bore it.
Right.
And we would have minimized that now scarred look on a brand new resurfaced road. So again, I'll stick to my first things: communication, cooperation, coordination, and commitment. That's how we work together to minimize pavement cuts that on pavement we just put down on Monday and we cut it on Friday.
Yep. You hit that spot on. Yep. Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
For us, it is communications, and things that I've learned over the years of coming back from Florida here to Georgia is my employees move. So the person that you were dealing with is no longer in a position because they got promoted or they moved to another job. So we put a communication means in place where it's a group email. That way you're touching 10 people. And my response to my team is somebody has to respond. They have to respond to say there's no conflict, or we're going to get that permit in, or we're going to bore it, and then we won't cut that road. So for me, it's key is communication and just making sure that we're communicating with the partners that are resurfacing, or the road contractors, or the city, or the GDOT, to make sure that we are adhering to and being ahead. As long as we know, then we can be ahead and we can plan for it, so we can get the job completed.
Yep. You have anything? Okay. Well, I have something I do want to add to that. So as a utility owner, when you submit your permit through GPass to the Department of Transportation, you will get a list of the projects, maintenance, resurfacing projects, and so on, of what's going on in that area. So as a utility owner, that right there should kind of raise a red flag. But it's also the district's responsibility to look and see what projects are in that area as well. So just communicate back to what Dallory said and Donovan, just communication is key. So great discussion. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to, this one is for Holly. While large project tickets are the standard, what are excavations utility owners, local governments, and DOTs do to coordinate large project tickets better and, in a way, support the efforts of Georgia 811 liaisons?
Okay, great topic. Just to let you know, large projects are on course to exceed normal locate requests going forward, and that was shocking to me. So not only are these important, usually congested utility easements and miles of work being done, we're going to see more of them. And we have a lot of people that are circumventing the large project rule by calling in normal tickets. And large projects are not easy. They're difficult. So the most important things I think I can say is, number one, education, coordination, and good faith negotiation on large projects. But I have to say, the education part of it is there are so many people that misunderstand the rules around large projects. And so I would encourage you can go to our website and have free online training, self-paced training. We also will come to your location and train your people for free. And that's not just for utilities. That's for excavators. I mean, we do it for the Better Business Bureau. I mean, we will train anybody. So please think about that. You could make a difference in somebody's life. Because if we don't educate our people, we're setting them up to fail. And that doesn't help any of us. And it can get somebody hurt. I think that what was mentioned, the GUCC, how important that is. And I just want to make a point that you can register at their website. There's a banner at the top, and it's got all these different things you can look at, and there's Get Involved button, right, Terry? You click that, put your email address, instantly you're going to get weekly emails. There are over 40 local committees around the state, and they meet monthly, sometimes every other month, but it's well over 400 opportunities, meetings around this state that you could be involved in. It doesn't have to be that you go to the conference. Locally is where it matters the most, right? Make those connections with people before you need to ask for their help. And I will say we need more excavators involved in the GUCC. And then the other thing is good faith negotiation. When you're in a large project scenario, as the utility, you should give a reasonable expectation of when you can get your facilities located on that large project. We have an escalation list process at Georgia 811. All you need to do is call Georgia 811. If there's something wrong with your ticket, let's just say it's a normal ticket, maybe it's a ticket quality issue, you don't understand the locate instructions, whatever. All you don't need my phone number, but you're welcome to call me. But you can call 811 with your ticket number and say, I need help, I want this escalated. It will automatically go to our team, and we will try to get that resolved for you. We can't make an excavator do anything. We can't make a utility do anything. But we will press for you. And usually it means educating people. So don't sit back and say, well, here it goes again. They're going to be late. And that's one of the number one complaints in the escalation list is the utilities are late. The complaints around large projects are the utilities are late, excavators not negotiating in good faith, asking for more than they should. So I challenge you to think about when you're talking about your large projects, it's the refreshing of the marks and people trying to get stuff in quickly. And they ask for, 1 week they want 13 miles located. Another one they want 12 miles. It's got to be reasonable, right? So think about that, please, because if we don't negotiate and coordinate, communicate, it's all going to fall apart. And at Georgia 811, we are currently developing a different way to manage large projects. Right now, large projects, you can't tell when it's located through our system. And our system's called positive response. For large projects, we only know that the utility said they'll go to the meeting or not, and if they're going to treat it as a large project or not. We don't know when that utility is located. Like on a normal ticket, if I say I located it right now, it would, and I'm responding for AT&T, it would put a time, date, and stamp on that positive response. And that's something we can work with, but large projects are like a black hole. We don't know. So we're developing a system where each segment that you ask for, you've got to go through us to submit it, and the utility's got to respond through PRIS. So that's going to help for clarity, but we still need the good faith negotiation. I know that was a long answer, but.
No, that very good. You covered it. Thank you, Holly, for that. So moving on to the next question. Should there be a centralized real-time digital map of all underground utilities accessible to all stakeholders? What is the security or proprietary risk preventing this?
I'll field the first one, I guess. The answer is yes. It'll help not only in design, in the pre-construction phase, for us to identify potential utility conflicts early, but it also, after coordination is completed, it'll help us in construction. Kind of like the E.R. Snell and C.W. Matthews and the guys this morning, they were talking about, you know, having that be able to put it in a 3D model on the TP3 type files, right? So if we had that available during construction, where we do have a wall and for whatever reason we miss the vertical elevation that's off, we can take that 3D model and compare it to what the bottom profile of the wall footing is to know if we're going to have a utility conflict at that particular crossing or whatever. But I say yes. Now, what is the risk associated with it for underground utilities? And I guess I'm going to get guilty here. I'm closed-minded. I'm not thinking more so on the security measures, but I don't really identify risk. They're asking for a permit anyway to put the facility in the corridor, and through an open records request, they can ask to see that permit. So anybody can see where it was permitted to put in the right of way. So I'm not identifying a security risk based on that.
Okay.
I'm all for it. I like the information that's out there for everything. But the problem is it going to be active or it'll be static? You'll have a utility give the information and then it's just there. But what happens when changes come along? Are we going to have a system in place where the utility can send the information to GDOT or a third party to say, okay, this information is the latest on this? Also, just, you know, the same kind of thing is standardizing on the software that GDOT's going to use to design with. Open roads, DGNs, AutoCAD, you know, MicroStation, all this stuff. It gets frustrated when we get old version 7 MicroStation files, and then the next minute we get an Open Roads file which has a lot of different details on it and stuff. Having that standardization and having the up-to-date information would be a big plus for this. And I really like the GIS system we have at GTC, with just being able to go through and have everything on a GIS system to find where our facility, we can easily go, and I have it linked to the GDOT GeoPie, to where I can put in the project number and it'll show exactly where, based on that information. It is very powerful. I don't know how my predecessor did it. It was Tony Pritchett. I guess what he would do would go to our map file, figure out where the county is, go try to find the project number on a sheet in the map file, pulling it out, and just, I'm sure he spent maybe 3 or 4 days just to see if we have any utilities there. So we have come a long way, so, in the industry. And again, a centralized location would be great, but then maintaining the data, that's the biggest hurdle, I think.
Yep.
For us, we're open to the conversation, but the one thing that it is security for us. We're transporting backbone services across the nation, and it's also about competition also. We're competing against each other, so if our competitor gets a map of our network, they know where to go build, and vice versa. So we have to be open to figure out how the information is kept separate but available. That way entities can get the information that they need to do your road work or to design for a new project, but how do you keep it separate from the telecommunications? The other part is, if a bad actor got access to all of that information, they know where to go cut your phone lines. They know where to go cut your network.
Yeah.
We take cuts almost every other day for vandalism, where our network is for us is fiber, but the person is thinking that it's copper. They're cutting glass, and our last outage had almost 100,000 customers out for a couple of hours.
Wow. Because
they cut glass, and that happens throughout the day and the night. So if you give that information openly where people can get a hold of it, not saying that it would, right? But if it did get a data breach, that information is now public to somebody, and now they can do bad things with our information. So we're open to the conversation, but how do we keep it secure is the compromise that we need to look for.
Yeah, very good points. Very good. Holly, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I probably should recuse myself because my boss might dot my I if I say what I think.
No. Okay, well, let's move on to the next question.
I like
then.
his response.
Okay.
Well said,
Okay,
sir.
moving on. Okay. Next question is, in your opinion, why does design, utility coordination, and relocation efforts still not address all utility conflicts with proposed construction on highway projects?
Well, I'll start again. If you ain't figured out yet, I got an opinion about a lot of stuff. But no, a lot of times, we do a blend in the pre-construction phase. We either do SUE or we do traditional utility coordination. And if we're doing traditional utility coordination, a lot of times we're getting the horizontal placements. We're not getting the vertical placements, right? So some of that pose an issue when we go into construction, but primarily what I see, we have a good partnership. We have a good team here with the utility industry and with the highway contractors, but it comes down to the lack of the communication, the coordination, the cooperation, and the commitment. But when you're in construction, it takes engagement, right? So you cannot be totally removed from utility coordination meetings that's happening on the project during the construction, and now it's your turn to move, and you don't know it's your turn to move because nobody's been there, no representative. And then all of a sudden, hands get thrown up and say, oh, I didn't know. I now need to follow my schedule. Well, generally what you'll hear out of me is ignorance is not an excuse. We send out, the WUCS does, either going to do a monthly utility coordination meeting or they'll do it bi-weekly. It's really up to the WUCS, depends on the amount of utilities being moved. But that is sent out to all of the contacts. And it's the utility company's decision whether they have someone present or not. And it's the ones that do not attend is the ones we deal with during construction for possible delays. Not everyone is a delay, right? So We got to make sure the contractor completes the dependent activities outlined in the schedule, but if it is their time to move, then definitely stay engaged on construction type projects, because a lot of our projects that we have under construction, again, we have a good partnership. Even though utility adjustment schedules have a very long projected time frame, most of the utility owners and the contractors, they will accelerate those schedules. And your turn to move will come sooner than you actually expected. And the only way you'll know that is to attend a utility coordination meeting with your highway contractor and the rest of your utility team.
Totally agree. It's about communication. When we don't know where next to go, we're going to be behind, because we got to put funds in place to pay our contractors. So if you call me today and say, hey, you're next to go, well, it might take me 45 days or 60 days to get the capital in place to get going. So we need to be at those meetings. And like we stated, we have made adjustment on the Comcast side to make sure that we have more than one person that can respond to the emails. But the other thing that we like is we see the AI notes that either GDOT or other contractors are sending. We're able to read those notes. So if you can't make the meeting, then the notes that are coming from the meeting allow us to say, all right, who's next? Where's the project at, and then when do you start planning? For me and my team is we've started a database of tracking our projects, so we know where our projects are. The team meets weekly on those projects. That way, our goal is not to be behind. Do we get behind? We do sometimes. So I'm not sitting here saying that we don't get behind, but our goal is to stay in front of the contractors to make sure that we're making the meetings. We understand what's going on. If we don't get the notes, then call the coordinator that's working that project and ask them for the details. When is my time for me to go next? That way you stay on top of the project.
Communication. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with the communication. One of the things, too, that I've been doing this role since 2013, and it has been an issue from day one of the drawings themselves, the DGNs that we get are not complete. If we could educate GDOT employees that when you get a set of DGNs, have them sent from the designer, get all of them. Don't just get nick and picky, because if anybody's not familiar with the way MicroStation works is there's an overall drawing, but that overall drawing is created by a bunch of other little drawings. And if all of you get is for the utility sheets is that utility sheet, it'll be blank. There'll be nothing on it because you didn't send the other drawings. Open roads is another animal all by itself because it's very similar to AutoCAD. Sorry to geek out on you on CAD stuff. But you can actually go in and see the sheets in that. But again, just an education and letting people know the communication that needs to happen between the designer, the GDOT road designer, and the utility too. If that communication could be minimized somehow to where we can go straight to the designer or somewhere just to communicate and let them know that partial design is not going to help us out. So,
Thank you, Tim. You're good, Holly? I'm good. Okay.
I'm already on the limb. Leave me alone.
Okay, moving on to the next question, last question. Once a project moves from design to active construction, how should we maintain the same level of coordination? Is there a need for a utility liaison on site to handle real-time conflicts, or should that responsibility fall solely on the contractor?
now was that do you see that liaison coming from the utility or from GDOT, or how is that defined? It's just open-ended? Okay. An on-site, what we traditionally do is we have our construction inspector. He'd be there. He'd be the contact person that needs to happen. Either myself or the project manager of our relocation project would attend the utility meetings because we would back each other up. And then Stephanie Hill, my counterpart, she would attend too if neither one of us could make it. So we try to cover those utility coordination meetings. They are very powerful and let us know what's going on too.
from our perspective, is being at the meetings once you know that their project is in the construction stage, is being at the meetings to make sure that we can understand when our time is to go. So for us, our team is just making sure that we're there. We have coverage at the meetings to make sure that we're tracking the meetings. And again, if we don't make the meetings, you're getting the notes and you're in contact with the road contractors. I think that's the biggest key for us is the communication between the utilities and the road contractors or the contractors for the projects to make sure they're all on the same page and they understand the timeline. And they understand our timelines. I think one thing that we stress on our side is we can't always take our network down. We have moratoriums during the holidays. Just like GDOT shuts the roads down or they don't work during the holidays, from probably the 15th of December until after New Year's, we can't touch our network. We are in a moratorium to keep reliability for our customers. So the road project might be going on, but we physically, if we're next to go, we can't physically do that work during that period. So we've got to make sure our schedules are correct and that the road contractors understand that we can't work during certain periods of time to make sure that we meet the commitments for the contract also.
I know COVID was a really bad thing for everybody to go through, but it has helped us out with having team meetings and virtual meetings because now it's more accepted to have that. And that has been a big plus because, you know, Stephanie and myself, we cover the whole state. There's no way we can go down to an in-person meeting that was down in Albany and then try to hit one up in Gainesville at the same time. So another plus for technology is Teams and I forgot what the other application was that people use, but Zoom and stuff like that has been a really great thing to have. So.
Okay.
All right, not last, not least, right?
Wrap us up, Dallory.
So I have an
Come on.
opinion.
Yep.
So
You do.
I agree with Tim and Donovan on everything that they've said. But in that, I want to speak of real life. To answer that question, yes or no, I'm going to let you make that determination after I give you my response. So a utility liaison for me on a project that was assigned to my team from the Georgia Department of Transportation, it's up in Conyers. All right, so it's PI number 731048. In case you was wondering, it come out a little sideways at Lit. So a utility liaison on this particular project, we worked it out to be able to have some boots on the ground to kind of mediate between the highway contractor and utility industries while we were on the front end trying to finish up the utility coordination. A lot of utility partners never seen the final plans. They didn't submit permits and schedules, so I'm working hard behind the scenes to get something. But on the ground, the contractor's ready to go to work. He's busting dirt, right? He's wanting to do something. So now we got utilities in the way. So to make this project successful, it has taken the utility liaison's engagement to early identify potential conflicts, coordinate conversations or meetings on the project site between the contractor, the utility owner, and the department. Then immediately, it's like this panel says, we can't be everywhere all at one time. And but to summarize that, the utility liaison, he writes up a weekly update, what those discussions were, what those impacts were, what the possible solution is. And we've done work through some innovative way to clear the conflict so the contractor can stay on schedule. So I identified that, but I will like to report, we are reporting at 50% ahead of schedule on all the UASs right now, but that has come at the success of a utility liaison being boots on the ground. So I'll let you make that decision if yes is needed or no it's not.
Holly, do you have anything?
I do have something I could
Okay.
add.
Okay.
On somebody mentioned the design phase. I think it was part of the question. I just want to say design locates abysmal, the response from the utilities, less than 20%. It's outrageous. And it is a probable violation of GUFPA, the dig law, and you can get a $15,000 fine per instance. Okay? And designs changed last year. If it's a single address, the utility must go out and put paint on the ground. If it exceeds a single address, you can provide the records. So please think about that. If you got questions about it, reach out to us. We'll educate you. But it's a real problem, and it's so disrespectful to the people that are trying to build it on the front side to avoid hitting your stuff. And that's before you even get to asset relocation. So you're a part of the solution. Please think about that.
Thank you. Thank you all for your insights on that. Okay. All right, let's see what we got on time. Okay, we got a few minutes for some questions and answers. Any questions for the panel? Oh, come on now. Where we got? Okay.
Rashad Lewis, Marta. Question for Holly.
So you're saying I could lose my job still today?
Not my fault. Not my fault.
All right, I can't see you. Will you stand up? Where are you? Oh, sorry. Thank you, sir.
What is the reasoning behind large project tickets outpacing normal project tickets?
What's the difference in a large project?
No. What is the reason why large project tickets will outpace normal project tickets?
That's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer because I was very shocked at that. But I do think that it does show that there's a lot of builds going on. So I will say with the telecom federal dollars that went out, I think that's probably what's happening, is that it's inflating those numbers. It would be my best guess. But
I can,
there we go. Somebody can help us here.
I can answer it. It's over the last 3 years, there's been government money given to the utilities to expand broadband, rural or wherever it is in the metro Atlanta area. So we're building thousands of miles for rural broadband to connect rural Georgia or rural states. For us, we have 8 states. I cover 8 states. So we've gotten those funds, and I got to build 100 miles in Atlanta. If I got to build 100 miles, I have to open up a large locate ticket, and I have 5 contractors that are working. All those contractors, we have a production schedule, so that requires a large locate. If I have a mile and a half that I have to build, I have to open up a large locate ticket. And yes, Holly is tracking if we are trying to circumvent that. We are making sure our vendors are not circumventing that, because Comcast is responsible for that. They work for us. So the reason why you're seeing the large locate is because of the funding, and that is only going to expand as BEAD money is starting to be awarded. And we're about to start doing BEAD builds for the next 3 years.
Donovan, we're a good team. I think that's the answer. What he said again.
Okay, any more questions from the group? Okay, I just want to say it's been my pleasure to step up here and moderate you guys. Y'all have been awesome. Y'all have given a lot of insight, and really do appreciate taking your time. And I know you are all busy in each of your jobs, so thank you. And I came from South Georgia, by the way. I came from Savannah, that area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 4 hours. 4 hours. So, yeah. So, but thank you all. It's been great. You can definitely reach out to these individuals throughout the day and ask any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.